is being presented with the tricolour by Monsieur Charles Gauthier, who is the Mayor of Saint-Herblain in France, which has been our twin city with Waterford since 1982. And we will be seeing him shortly.
And the interesting thing about the tricolour, of course, is it's based on the vertical stripes of the French flag, which of course is the blue, the white and the red. And it was actually made originally by a group of French women and presented to Thomas Francis Meagher in France in 1848. And of course the Stars and Stripes as well, the flag of the United States of America, that has 13 stripes on it, of course, and also the 50 stars, which we recognise, of course, as the 50 states in the Union. And the Canadian flag, I hope I get this right, is the maple leaf.
The maple leaf it is, yes.
Of course, Canada, very famous for its maple trees, and maple, of course, is their national emblem there, and we recognise that instantly. The green, the white and the orange, of course, the green representing nationalism, the orange, of course, again, the other side, and of course the white unifying. Hopefully we've seen Thomas Francis Meagher himself reincarnated just for today.
We would ask you to pay particular attention to the actual jacket that Thomas Francis Meagher is wearing today. This is a unique piece that has taken, I believe, considerable hours to actually put together, and it really is quite impressive.
Yeah, it was actually replicated, and last night here at the House of Waterford Crystal, the delegation from the United States, although some of them are here today, from the, I hope I get this right, the 69th, the New York 69th, I haven't got it right, the New York 69th Infantry Regiment. They were presented with the jacket, of course. It was handmade here in Waterford, and presented them to take back to the United States with them. It's absolutely beautiful. And again, this is something that perhaps Thomas Francis Meagher would have worn. Now, most of you will be familiar with Thomas Francis Meagher, of course, because the statue is down outside the Tower Hotel here. So if you haven't had a look at it recently, perhaps after today's event, it might have a bit more meaning, and go and have a look at it. He's there on his horse, facing away.
Thomas Francis Meagher, as he would have looked at the time. This is the ceremonial jacket. Very, very impressive.
And he would have walked this mile many times as a young man, of course, being educated in some of the finest schools in Ireland, Clongowes Wood included.
The country will once again accept this symbol of a new life for
presented the Canadian flag.
its meaning. The intellect of the generation will touch it at a glance. And I trust that beneath its folds, the hands of the Irish Protestant and the Irish Catholic may be clasped in heroic and generous brotherhood.
We extend a very warm welcome to all our visitors.
savar buil legian ergil con bosh nusil legona skrek filok novil shalif kanig
Ladies and gentlemen, the wonderful singing talents of Waterford's Donna Roche. Thank you, Donna. Beautifully sung. I'd now like to call on our first citizen, the Mayor of Waterford, Councillor Mary Roche.
Fellow councillors, members of the Oireachtas, City Manager, His Excellency Ambassador Loyola Hearn, the Canadian Ambassador, Monsieur Carré, representing the French Embassy, Mayor Charles Gauthier of Saint-Herblain and Harty, Colonel James Tierney and members of the 69th Regiment, members of the Naval Reserve, church representatives, ladies and gentlemen. On the 9th of July, 1849, an order for the deportation of 4 prisoners to Australia, the penal colony of Tasmania, or Van Diemen's Land as it was then known, arrived at Richmond Prison in Dublin. Among the prisoners was a young Waterford man, Thomas Francis Meagher. 1849 was indeed a dark year for Meagher personally and for Ireland. Having narrowly escaped the death penalty for his involvement in the failed 1848 rebellion, he was, at 26 years of age, facing a very uncertain future: transportation from his native land for the rest of his life. This year, the National Museum of Australia are mounting a major exhibition celebrating the Irish contribution to Australian society. It gives me great pleasure as Mayor of Waterford and as a member of the board of the Waterford Museum of Treasures to announce that we have been asked to loan 2 historic objects from the Meagher collection to this temporary exhibition, recognising the importance of Thomas Francis Meagher. This weekend we are celebrating Thomas Francis Meagher and especially the national flag of this country. In proposing the tricolour of green, white and orange as the flag of an independent Ireland, Thomas Francis Meagher turned for inspiration to that country on the continent of Europe which was seen as the bastion of freedom, France, the nation of liberty, equality and fraternity, where the blue, white and red of their flag had, since the revolution, acted as a potent symbol of liberty, not only in France herself, but across the world. In 1848, Meagher went to France and returned with a new flag for his nation, a tricolour of green, white and orange, made by and given to him by French women sympathetic to the Irish cause. That flag was first flown in public in March 1848 during the Waterford by-election from the headquarters of Meagher's Wolfe-Tone Confederate Club at number 33 The Mall, Waterford, just a stone's throw from where we stand today. It is also significant that following his escape from exile in Tasmania, Meagher chose the United States of America as his refuge. As an escaped convict, he would never again be able to return to Ireland or his beloved Waterford, where he would have faced arrest and imprisonment. For Meagher, America was that other great bastion of liberty, a new nation which had emerged at the end of the 18th century and which he referred to in the course of his famous sword speech as a giant nation that sprang up from the waters of the Atlantic, a fettered colony which became a daring, free republic. It is also ironic that when Meagher arrived in New York in 1852 and settled there, he was returning to the continent where his father was born, several hundred miles to the north in Newfoundland. Meagher's grandfather, Thomas Sr., originally from County Tipperary, had settled in St. John's, Newfoundland at the end of the 18th century, where he prospered. He was part of that great wave of settlers from the southeast of Ireland, all from within a 30-mile radius of Waterford city, that settled in Newfoundland, are of Irish descent. And it is no wonder that one 19th century politician referred to Newfoundland in the middle of the 19th century as merely Waterford, parted by the sea. So for Thomas Francis Meagher, America was his second home. And like many other Irish people who settled there, it would come to have first claim on his allegiance. At the outbreak of the Civil War in America in 1861, Meagher called on his fellow Irish men living there to volunteer for the Union Army to defend the Union. It is also significant that another famous Irish American, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, who paid an official state visit to Ireland in 1963 as President of the United States of America, should choose the example of Thomas Francis Meagher of Waterford, when, in his address to the joint houses of the Oireachtas, he summed up the contribution of the Irish community to the development of America. He paid tribute to General Thomas Francis Meagher's Irish Brigade in the Union Army, and in particular the 69th Regiment, Meagher's own regiment. President Kennedy referred in particular to the Battle of Fredericksburg. At this battle, the Irish Brigade wore sprigs of green boxwood in their caps, that famous sprig of green. And when the brigade suffered huge casualties, the field was littered with those same sprigs of green. One of these sprigs is now on display in the Waterford Museum of Treasures, perhaps one of the most poignant objects in the Meagher collection. As a fitting recognition to all those who fought to preserve the Union, Thomas Francis Meagher was asked to be one of the pallbearers at President Lincoln's funeral following his assassination in 1865. Ireland that Meagher left in 1849 was going through the most catastrophic event in its history. The Great Famine was entering its 5th year, a famine which would see 1 million Irish people dying of starvation and disease, and another million forced to emigrate. The very last letter that Meagher wrote in Ireland, and which is now on display in the city, holds words which are as important and inspiring today as they were 162 years ago. In the darkness which covers the land, we hear but the wail of the dying and the supplications of the penniless and the breadless. Never, never was their country so utterly downcast, so debased, so pitiful, so spiritless. Yet I could not despair of her regeneration. Nations do not die in a day. Their lives are reckoned by generations, and they encompass centuries. Their vitality is inextinguishable. Their sufferings are sometimes terrible, but they survive the deadliest plagues, the red inundation of the battlefield, the storms which topple towers and pyramids, the fire in which millions of wealth is melted down, the earthquake which engulfs cities and buries a whole people in one indistinguishable sepulchre. They have been known to survive all. Thus too shall Ireland survive all her sufferings, her errors and disasters, and rear one day an arch of triumph high above the wreck and wilderness of the past. In 1848, Meagher had gifted the tricolour to the future Irish nation. That flag was and remains a powerful symbol. Its adoption as the national flag in 1949 gives Waterford and Meagher a presence in perpetuity. It remains a potent symbol of reconciliation and assimilation. We can but hope, as we stand here today, that the Irish flag will continue to inspire our people, that it will continue to symbolise a continuous engagement with our emigrants and diaspora, and that the errors and disasters of which Meagher spoke, and which appear to echo our nation's challenges once again today, will inspire us all to strive to reimagine ourselves, our ancient city and our nation, and that we will again rear our own arch of triumph over the wreck and wilderness of our most recent past. Ladies and gentlemen, I commend to you a great Waterford son, Thomas Francis Meagher, who in his short 44 years of life was forever true to himself. Here on the Mall, where his ghost may hover today, I commend to you the green, white and orange, and all that those colours symbolise for our people and our nation. Hoisted on this very Mall in 1848 on the 7th of March, I give you the tricolour, the Irish flag. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to the Mayor of Ireland's oldest city, Councillor Mary Roche. Now it gives me great pleasure to invite the Canadian Ambassador to argue very much. Our final speaker this afternoon is no stranger to Waterford. He's been Mayor of Saint-Herblain, our twin city in France, since 1989. He's been a Senator in the French Parliament since 2001. Please give a very warm Waterford welcome to Mr. Charles Gauthier, accompanied by Kevin O'Shea to interpret.
Mrs. the Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends of Waterford. Je suis particulièrement honoré d'être avec vous aujourd'hui pour la célébration du drapeau irlandais. Cet emblème tricolore a été dévoilé pour la première fois dans notre ville de Waterford il y a 163 ans, le 7 mars 1848. L'initiative en revenait au plus illustre enfant de votre ville, Thomas Francis Meagher. Il n'avait alors que 25 ans et sa vie allait être digne d'un roman. Songez qu'il termina sa vie gouverneur de l'État de Montana aux États-Unis après être passé par le bannissement en Tasmanie et avoir combattu sous l'uniforme des Yankees durant la guerre de sécession.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends of Waterford, I feel especially honoured to be with you here today for the anniversary celebrations of the Irish flag. This tricolored emblem was unveiled for the first time 163 years ago in this delightful city of Waterford on the 7th of March 1848. Initiated by the most illustrious native of your city, Thomas Francis Meagher. Aged only 25 at the time, his life was to become a never-ending novel. Ending his life as Governor of Montana in the United States after having been banished from Ireland to Tasmania and having fought for the Yankees during the American Civil War.
Acquis à la cause de l'indépendance de l'Irlande, Thomas Francis Meagher créa le drapeau tricolore irlandais à l'aube de ce qu'on allait appeler le printemps des peuples. L'Europe était en pleine effervescence. En février 1848, les Français renversaient le roi Louis-Philippe. Meagher décidait de se rendre alors en France pour étudier cette révolution.
Ireland's independence, Meagher created the Irish tricolour flag at the dawn of the so-called springtime of the people, or the 1848 revolution. With Europe in utter turmoil, February 1848 saw the overthrow of King Louis-Philippe I by the French. Meagher decided to travel to France to study this simmering revolution.
C'est lors de ce séjour qu'un groupe de femmes françaises, sensibles à la cause irlandaise et peut-être aussi à son charme, lui offrit un magnifique drapeau tricolore irlandais, fait de la soie la plus fine. Le 15 avril 1848, Meagher présenta le drapeau à Dublin en déclarant « Le blanc au centre du drapeau représente une trêve durable entre l'orange et le vert. J'ose espérer que sous les couleurs de ce drapeau, les protestants et les catholiques pourront généreusement se serrer la main en signe d'une héroïque fraternité. »
At that time, a group of French women, sympathetic to the Irish cause, and also perhaps sympathetic to the charm of Thomas Francis Meagher, offered him a magnificent tricoloured Irish flag made of the finest silk. On 15th of April 1848, Meagher presented the flag declaring that the white in the middle of the flag represents a lasting truce between the orange and the green. And I trust that beneath its folds, the hands of the Irish Protestant and the Irish Catholic may be clasped in generous and heroic brotherhood.
Je viens de parler du printemps des peuples qui a touché de nombreux pays d'Europe en 1848. Ce mot résonne d'une manière particulière en cette année 2011, qui voit une autre région du monde en proie à un formidable élan de ses populations vers plus de liberté, plus de justice. Je veux bien sûr parler du monde arabe.
The springtime of the people, which affected many countries in Europe in 1848, has a strong resonance in 2011, with another region of the world witnessing this year a rising tide of popular revolt towards freedom and justice. Of course, I am referring to the Arab world.
Le 14 janvier dernier, la Tunisie se débarrassait de son dictateur Ben Ali, au terme d'un mois de contestation. Le 11 février, c'est le peuple égyptien qui obtenait le départ de Moubarak, en place depuis 30 ans. Et voici que d'est en ouest, la plupart des pays arabes connaissent des soulèvements. Le Yémen, Bahreïn, Algérie, Jordanie, Libye, dont le peuple courageux paie le prix fort pour se débarrasser de son tyran.
On the 14th of January, Tunisia rid itself of its dictator, Zine Ben Ali, after 1 month of protests. On the 11th of February, the Egyptian people forced the departure of Hosni Mubarak, who had ruled for 30 years. And now, from east to west, many of the Arabian countries are undergoing revolt. Yemen, Bahrain, Algeria, Jordan, and of course Libya, whose brave citizens are paying the price to rid themselves of their country's bloody tyrant.
Les situations économiques, sociales et politiques sont évidemment très différentes de l'un à l'autre de ces pays. Pourtant, si l'on y regarde bien, on y trouve aussi des points communs. Tous ces peuples ont subi de graves atteintes dans leurs droits, perpétrées par des régimes autoritaires et corrompus, coupés des réalités sociales. S'il n'y avait qu'un message à retenir de ce qui se passe aujourd'hui, ce serait: on ne peut impunément bafouer les libertés des peuples. Ils finissent toujours par se dresser contre l'injustice.
The economic, social and political situations are of course very different from one country to another. Yet, when looking closer, we also find some common features. The citizens' rights of these nations have been seriously affected, perpetrated by authoritarian and corrupt regimes, completely cut off from social realities. If there was simply one message to retain about what's happening today, it would be: scorning the liberty of people may not go unpunished. Revolt against injustice always finishes with the triumph of freedom.
Ici, dans votre pays, comme ailleurs, peut-être plus qu'ailleurs, la crise économique a été terrible et est loin d'être terminée. Le plan de sauvetage de votre économie, négocié avec l'Union européenne et le FMI, impose des mesures. Attention.
Thank you very much indeed. There will be opportunities for photos a little bit later on, and of course we also have with us some Irish wolfhounds as well, so plenty of photographic opportunities before the afternoon is out. And as we draw, as I said, to a close, finally we have the last musical treat of the day. Currently assembling on the steps are the award-winning, have already become one of the premier male voice choirs in the country. They will now sing for us 3 songs today: The Impossible Dream, Down by the Riverside, and also the Battle Hymn of the Republic. But before we start, we also have some other special guests with us this afternoon.
Yes, could we give a big welcome to the students from Mercyhurst College, Erie, Pennsylvania, twinned with Dungarvan. They're here today. Thank you for coming, lads.
And of course the members of the NSR are being led away again. Ladies and gentlemen, the Waterford Male Voice Choir.